Morning, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys' weekend was relaxing and restful. Back at it today with NASDAQ. I posted the daily bias into the chat. We had such a large overnight move that this morning I'm just going to be patient. So, anyways, came into the chart. Buy side sweep up here. Looking for. I'm anticipating a buy side sweep to discount and balance, which would be this one on the 4 hour and on the 1 hour. It's down here. We got a nice consolidation on the lower time frame with a higher time frame PD array below it. So we're already tapping the sell side right there. We do have 10 a.m. news today. So if we can find a trade setup using the news, then that's what I would like. But since we've had a 250 point move since London high, yeah, even more than that now, almost 300 points since London high. Entering a trade right at 9:30 is a little sketch, and then entering anything really within the first 30 minutes sometimes can be difficult as we're anticipating a choppy day. So if there's no high quality setup, I'll be completely hands off. There's no rush to get in. We have news the rest of the week, NFP. So there'll be plenty of good setups, or even PM session today might be a little bit better than AM session. So if it's a little bit choppier than we expect, then I'll end the stream off early. But don't anticipate any huge runs, at least for the morning, as we've already kind of displaced a decent amount. I'm looking for SMT at the bottom as the first thing. So if we see SMT at the bottom, I'd like to then anticipate some sort of a bullish movement. I've marked out these PD arrays on the 15-minute chart. So if you go to, let me pull up the 15 one here. Go to your dealing range. Let's mark these out. So I go to your dealing range. Obviously, PM session high and low are not in the range to target. London session high, I think, is pretty far for a target. So if then we don't see external range liquidity pools as targets, we take our most recent dealing range between high and low, mark out any fair value gap or bias liquidity pool we see in premium. So I'm liking this fair value gap in here on the 15. On the 5, it's narrowed down a little bit to here. And on the hourly chart, we also do have this hourly imbalance. And the hourly chart pairs to the 5-minute chart. So we should see 5-minute consolidation right within this wick here if it wants to be a high probability that we trade back potentially up into that range. I don't know, either today, next week, who knows. But you go to the 5-minute chart and there's some nice consolidation within the range right here. That being said, I mentioned that potentially we could see this as the quarterly shift and seasonal tendency to head lower. We have SMT at the top between NQ and ES. If you look at this high, the all-time high, and the most recent swing from Monday and from last week, and compare it to ES, there is your SMT between the indices. So on a higher time frame like the 1 hour chart, even on the 4 or the daily, you'll see that. You can anticipate us trading back lower for sell side into late April, potentially early May. That kind of is the estimated bounce that we see. We put in a low around that time, so you want to see it trade lower. So probably we'll see more sell setups than buy setups in the next couple of weeks. It's just something to look at, especially if you're swing trading. Morning. How you doing, M3? Out today, yeah. I probably will be out today too. We'll see what gives. Tomorrow's AM session, do you think it'll be decent PA? Of course, after it's a lower probability. But before then, or during Asia or London later today. Tomorrow AM, I think it should be fine. Let me look at the economic calendar. Yeah, 10 a.m. news tomorrow. Excuse me. Typically, the Wednesday AM session before NFP is the last high probability day until you get post NFP. So if you're looking to trade, tomorrow morning should be fine. Yeah, well, I don't know about London, but as long as we don't get a huge move like this prior to tomorrow morning opening, then we should be fine. I assume we'll have to obviously check by the time we get there, but sweeping the sell side, candle buys so far are staying above the sell side there, tapping into this larger 4-hour and 1-hour bisi. I can actually overlay this. You'll see what I mean. We have a 1-hour gap that's a little bit wider, and then the 4-hour, it's down here. But when you see these larger overnight moves, don't take a position right at 9:30 is what I've learned for demo, obviously. Reason being, if we were to continue in the direction and you were to short prior to 9:30, most times you'll see a Judah swing back up, which could stop you out and then move lower. And if you were to short prior to 9:30, open at 9:30, just kind of dips lower, I would see that as potentially the Judah swing, something like this, right? And then we may trade back up and stop you out. So it's best to just wait to get one of these two profiles. You want to preferably see some sort of a Judah swing higher and SMT at the highs if possible, like this, before we trade back down. But there really was no clear setup yet. I'm still waiting for the 15-minute candle to print something. 5-minute candle needs to print bullish. We already got a 15-minute liquidity sweep on the sell side if you want to look for the ATM model. 9:30 candle came down, sub sell side closed above. So you'd be waiting in theory for a 5-minute candle to close bullishly. We do have this sibi here that I'm watching for it to hopefully close above 50% of that. And then we could look for maybe buy setups. I would like to see it actually dip one last time below this range, potentially in this 4-hour gap, and then trade back up. But let's just see. Yesterday I took a loss. I posted that into futures trades, just a tiny one. Stop was just in the wrong spot. But right idea, we've moved, would have basically just captured high of the day yesterday. But it is what it is. I saw a couple people got on that same exact one and were able to win it. So if you're able to jump in, good stuff. Also look for potential SMT at the bottom here between the 940 and 947 low. Actually zoom out here. I'm going to grab a fib measurement from this high to this low. So we have this range in here on ES. Which is 2 to 2.5. You're expected a retracement or reversal within this range. And you'd like to see if it lines up with a higher time frame PD array. So we do have this sell side down here. Original consolidation low. Nice target. We also have a tiny imbalance right there on the 12 p.m. candle from last Tuesday. Sorry, Tuesday of March 19th. So if you want to use standard deviation projections, we already got our low risk sell. We don't really have a reaccumulation phase within -1 and -1.5 for silver bullet, at least not what I'm seeing. I'll actually screenshot this if you want it. I'll put it in daily bias for ES. Then for NQ, if we were to pull our standard deviation range, also lines up with our silver bullet zone within -1 to -1.5. So a lot of times within this range, on lower time frames, higher time frames, you get your retracement into a fair value gap either on lower time frames, or you could look for, basically it'll create a retracement, continue selling off. That's your silver bullet. On lower time frames, this high, low, higher, high, this whole range becomes a market maker buy model. So you want to look for your intermediate term time frame, like the 5-minute chart, for market structure. So if we put in a high, start printing up, you have original consolidation in there. Obviously all the way up here too. I don't know if we'll reach all the way up there. You start doing your top down and hopefully find some setups in there. Approaching the 950 macro. There's nothing I'm really favoring other than if this 5-minute candle does print a little bit more bullish, this kind of wicked back and forth indecisive candle does not count in my eyes as a bullish candle. So whether it prints bullishly here, I'd like to see it displace hopefully above these order blocks and above this imbalance here. And maybe we could use the news to get in. But really, before that or after that, I don't know how much volatility is left in the morning. Think about volatility as kind of like an engine, right? We have gas that's poured onto the fire or poured into the engine at specific times, so either 8:30 or 9:30. Sometimes when you have a large move like this, overnight, there's not going to be any gas left in the engine by 9:30 or by 8:30. So you have to be careful as volatility decreases, and you can see the same amount of volatility sometimes you see in Asian session within New York. Other days, if you have large consolidation prior to New York, then you can expect large ranges to start forming before then. And think about even this on the daily chart or on the hourly chart. Days before 8:30 news, well, 8:30 news is supposed to bring large movements or even, FOMC. So they're not going to use up the gas before a day where there's going to be a lot of volatility that comes into the market. So we're trading into this sibi here. I'm going to monitor ES. You could look for SMT above this 944 high as well. I'm actually going to put an alarm here. There's not enough data at all to look for longs yet. So higher time frame bias is still bearish. For me to look long, I would need to see preferably this order block range held, or at least this one. It trades back up, shoots aggressively above this sibi all before the 9:50 or the 10 a.m. news. Trades back down, uses this as inversion. Then maybe then you could look for a long. But I mean, so far there's no reason to look for long in an environment like this. We have downside targets both on ES and on NQ. We just tapped into that -2 range. If we were to trade lower, it's going to reach for this rouge of consolidation. And you know that on the 1 hour time frame pairs to the daily. So just like how if we have 5-minute consolidation, there's going to be a 1 hour PD array that you can use as internal range, and lower time frames will be external. On here, the hourly chart, we have external in the form of sell side, and it'll be internal on the daily chart. So if we go to the daily chart, right below this sell side, this will be the premium side of an imbalance on a daily bisi. So if you go to the 1 day, implied for value gap right there, right? With this wick, you can see the candle body, boom, right there. If you go to the 4 hour, may also be there too. But you can start using this in context to look for targets. When you start pairing up the time frames, looking for a low time frame to higher time frame, internal to external. So long that we continue to respect the sibi, I'd like to see shorts. Morning, SMT with ES. Yeah, we do have some bearish SMT there. And we just tagged the -2 to 2.5 range. But there's nothing in this that's really like screaming at me. And we can go to oil maybe, see if there's anything good in here. Really is the only two that I like looking at. But even in here, it's pretty choppy. Most times these market maker buy models and sell models on oil are pretty solid. Do have 4 standard deviations all the way down here though. Anyways, Euro USD also kind of inverse of the indices. This is a little weird to me. They should be doing similar to what the indices are doing, but they've been pumping up since 4 a.m. Completely opposite. DXY also trading lower since 4 o'clock. So nothing in here is high probability, right? DXY is not inverse. Euro USD is trading up higher. So both of these technically, both those are in correlation. The indices are not in correlation at all with DXY or Euro. So it's just a hands-off environment. Back to NASDAQ. It's odd in here. On the low probability days like PM Wednesday until AM NFP weeks, do you know if oil or gold are better to trade, or is their PA also not good during that time? I mean, most times it should be fine. Commodities normally are not affected as much as Forex and indices. So if you wanted to look for oil, I just prefer oil over gold. Gold is kind of manipulated a little bit too much for my liking. It's a lot based on news. So it's a whole kind of different game over there. You gotta get used to it. But if you were to switch, maybe look for some scalps. Oil is what I prefer. Same exact kind of models. Kalezone's a little bit earlier. I think it's technically between 7 and 10. I could be wrong about that. Most setups will happen between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock, or 8:30 and 10 o'clock on oil anyways. I am looking at the SMT there. I would say most setups happen between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock for oil. Looking before that, between 7 and 8, you don't need to do, but it's going to overlap with DXY. And the SMT tool you use for CL will be UK oil. So CL, I believe, is the US oil like future. So UK oil, I'll type it in chat, is what we use for SMT. Yep, all live streams are recorded and they're posted on YouTube unlisted. So I normally post the link into YouTube vids tab, which is up at the top of the Discord channels. You can find all the previous ones in there. Or you could just go to the live stream recording tab, which is on the YouTube. You have to just go to playlists and it'll be there. But if you try and look for the videos, just normally they won't be posted. So you have to either have the link or find the playlist. They'll be recorded and posted. Right now, how would you interpret the SMT right now, NQ to ES? Well, I mean, I see this one over here. I'm watching this one. That's present. But this one down here, to me, since we just tapped the 2.2 to 2.5, we didn't sweep any liquidity, and we're closing this sweep here right at the sell side. That's indication to me that we want to sweep this in reverse. We haven't taken out this intermediate term low yet, right? We have a short-term low and a short-term low to the left of it. So this would classify this preferably as a ITL or even an LTL. On the 5-minute chart, yeah, same thing basically, right? So, I mean, you could look at this as bullish SMT, but there's not enough data for me to just go long prior to the news here. We're starting to trade above this inversion, this gap in there. Yeah, I would like to see the news shoot up, but it's not a clean entry at all for me. We got a 5-minute candle print bullishly, but there's no 1-minute bisi in this range to go long from. Yeah. With the 10 a.m. news, we could get a little bit more volatility. We're consolidating right before it. So, I mean, if volatility comes in, we can maybe scalp the first 30-minute window. Look for a silver bullet trade. Otherwise, I'm not pressed about getting something right now. If we actually do turn bullish enough for an entry, where's your target expectation? Premium of the dealing range. So all the way up here, potentially. So there's your news coming in. ES does take out the high. So preferably up to 18,355.5. There's a 15-minute imbalance up there. It also lines up with an hourly imbalance. So if we were to reach all the way up and turn bullish after this sweep, then look for premium. Because they're sweeping external, we want to see internal, right? And sell side goes to premium, premium goes to sell side, discount goes to buy side goes to discount. So let's look at this sweep here. And if on ES like this, we don't take out the ITL, it's a good sign, right? Actually, remove this. And we have a 2 down closing candle range in here. Should be used as your bullish order block. SMT now between here and here. That's a little bit better. So same thing in here. If we were to form this as SMT, you like to see this as your intermediate term low. Short term low left of it, you use this one or this one, and then another one formed to the right of it. So if we see something like this, and a gap forms, either on top of this sibi, or we can use this breaker, that would be a potential long right here, if we were to use that. Oh, can't even. I'll screenshot this, send it to predictions chat. That's really what I'm favoring. Probably the only reason I would take a trade. So now we've confirmed this as a low, as a swing low, right? We got a lower lows left of it, lower lows to the right of it. Can kind of stock stock ES as well. I don't see if we break above this high. Even if a trade is given on ES, I would be fine with taking one there. Holding the bullish order block perfectly there on ES. Candle buys are respecting that beautifully. Tiny inversion gap in here too. Here's your run above. ES is technically the stronger one, so you'd prefer to take a trade here. Take a look over at NQ as well. This imbalance in here, use as inversion preferably too. You can see some resistance now, and if you form a gap like we're seeing, we fill that gap, it holds it, creates a swing low. I would prefer to go long off that target, the relative highs up here with the SMT we formed right at the open, or even all the way to premium of the dealing range, which I'm actually going to redraw since we formed a new low. So you want to take it from London high to here. There's your imbalance. Find that down. And that's really all you need to target. Go back to the 1. There's imbalance forming within the propulsion block too. So if this candle closes here in 10 seconds and we form a gap on top of this with a propulsion block on top, that's a nice institutional order flow entry drill typically that you can use to get long. So let's see if you come back and tap this order block. And there's your NQ for value up as well. I'd like to see it fill and then potentially reach up for the relative equal highs up here. So this right now is the target. You have a gap with the order block paired on NASDAQ here. Send a screenshot of this over. Obviously, you don't need to target the entire bullish dealing range. It doesn't have to reach all the way up to here. But just a quick target right in there. We have 15-minute balance also paired up right here. You'd use the target right above that. Yes, held it. And as long as this candle closes without taking out that low, that'd be beautiful market structure. On NQ, we basically need to see the same thing, right? What I said. Low put in, short-term swing low put to the right of it. You can use it as an entry long, targeting 20 points or the buy side. Short-term buy side here is just kind of a tiny original consolidation market maker buy model in there. I do want to see how we react to this imbalance, because this is the fact that this is a premium imbalance after we swept sell side. So that would technically be good enough for a sell side to premium sweep. But since it's a higher time frame level, we have this sell side here. We have the imbalance here. We have this imbalance here that we all tapped into. I'd prefer to see a run on a higher time frame back up in some case up to at least a premium on higher time frames. So let's see how we hold this bullish order block in here. We're aligned for a trade back into discount if we want to reach all the way down there. But still have not formed a swing low to the right of the sweep here at 10 a.m. YM's pretty bullish. ES is trading a little bit further than I'd like to see with the propulsion block here. So I'm going to be monitoring that. Preferably we don't take out that swing low at 10:02. Clear some of this stuff up. So this here is what creates the fair value gap. So theoretically, stop loss below this swing lows would not be taken if we were wanting to be bullish. Put an alarm down there too. So overshot the bisi a little bit. We're now in discount of the dealing range between high and low. Remove some of this clutter as well. We've completely filled this inversion gap with buying and selling. So if we were to run back up, we could see speed above this high into the relative equal highs over here. Also, I do like the fact that we've been trading lower all of overnight, and we put in the low right at 10 o'clock. And if you were bullish, in a sense, during the AM session, you could look for your low to be put in between 9:30 and 10. We had SMT right at 10 o'clock with the low being put in with this candle. So everything kind of in motion to look for longs. Even the ETM model's printing right now. We have 5-minute candle sweeping sell side with a bullish candle right like that. But this dip lower past even consequent encroachment of this gap is a little bit rough. Let's see how we hold this low here at on ES. Let me actually pull this. Also in discount here. So usually stop loss on the lower bullish candle's wick of the fair value gap. I see also mentioned the swing low as well, which is further. So it's putting the stop loss just under the candle's wick low, the more advanced version. No, it's just something I prefer to do. And if you look at this, oops, if you go to ES, the third candle is not lower than this one. So technically this is where you would put your stop. But yeah, you're right. You could do this swing low or you could do this swing low. It doesn't matter. Watch this imbalance in here. I'm actually going to switch this to a bisi. Yeah, it depends on the price action. I like to do it like that if the price action is weak or strong, obviously depending on what we're looking for, or if there's an order block range we should be holding. When we have an order block paired with value gap like this, placing my stop there or there is what I prefer over placing my stop all the way down here on NASDAQ. A reason being just because when we have an order block range like this and fair value gap and we trade lower, we should be holding this range. There's not really a reason we should be trading below mean threshold of this. Like this closure all the way like that, you would be out for sure. I would not want to see it reach all the way down and take this low out again. Even if that means we're missing the trade, I would rather have an entry here on the order block, stop going right there, and not putting the stop all the way down there. We got half of it, but we didn't actually put a swing low within this bisi yet. And obviously you can see we're taking out the intermediate term low as well. It just comes with practice though. Placing stops and knowing where to place them come with practice. I would say watch how order blocks line up with the fair value gap. Normally, yeah, whatever you see a fair value gap and you're entering on it, place it at the bottom of it. I'm assuming that you're in premium or discount on the dealing range. So if there's a gap here and there's a gap here, and we have a low put in over here, we trade up all the way like this. You're not going to enter on this fair value gap, place a stop right here for two reasons. One, you are entering a long position in premium, not waiting for discount, and you have another fair value gap below it. And if you watch the 2022 concepts, you know you're supposed to allow for a trade back into this lower fair value gap and place your stop down here. So you could either wait for it to trade into this one, or you'd have to just miss the trade altogether. And normally the way you can tell is if there's an order block formed here or in here, then we're going to hold that order block and use the fair value gap next to it. Or if there's a breaker on the other side of the chart, like this, technically like this, right? Where then you can pull the breaker from the premium end, pair it up with the premium fair value gap, and you won't see most times a return into discount in this case. But obviously these are very specific scenarios where you can enter in premium going long and enter in discount going short. And that comes with practice and reading multiple time frames and just knowing how breakers form and when they're expected to form. But we're still trading lower. We could reach for this, 5233 sell side. Got half the trade idea and didn't play out. So no entry was given where we wanted to see that swing low form within the bisi and never gave it. And you can see in here, right? Q sweep sell side. Where is it going to go to? Well, the most previous stealing range would be from high to low, return to premium, and premium back to sell side. So if you're lucky enough to get the turtle soup right here at 10 o'clock, you could target the premium per value gap in here. But that's such a poor trade, I think, in my opinion. It does give 20 points, but I would like to see it reach up into here. And here's your evidence that it's low probability, right? We're just kind of consolidating here in the AM session with no large range moves and low probability conditions where two trade setups we want to see play out. Basically just one fails. So if a trade fails, in this example, one of the three PD arrays that failed, and on what time frame do you look for it? 1 minute. I'm normally looking for it on whatever time frame I'm entering on. So if it's a 5-minute trade idea, I'm going to be looking at the 5-minute PD arrays. If it's a 15-minute, I'm normally not entering on anything higher than the 5-minute anyways. So on the 1 minute, I'd be looking for 3 PD arrays there, right? So if we were to enter on this bisi, right? And you want to see the 3 PD arrays. Well, we have the bisi is 1. You have this order block is 2. And then you also have this inversion gap over here is 3. So with the 3 PD array rule, you can both use the bullish side of the, sorry, not the bullish side, but the right side of the curve or left side of the curve. So for bullish, you're going to use PD arrays from here and from here. And for bearish, you're going to use PD arrays from left side of the curve and right side of the curve, right? So inversion gaps, inversion order blocks, breakers can all be pulled to the left of it, and we can use that. Yeah, if you want to do, you could also see this as a bullish breaker in here too, right? On a lower time frame, maybe like the sub 1. You have a low, high, lower, low sweeps liquidity. That technically is your last up closing candle. It's a bullish breaker. So yeah, 4 PD arrays there. Even if you were not to use the inversion, that's 3 PD arrays just from the right side of the chart alone. So like I said, you want to see just a quick tap, run the order block, and then boom, fly off. Yeah, preferably they will overlap. I didn't think they would overlap so much and thought I'd have to look for the pre-value breaker and then the swing low, which is much larger range. No, yeah, if you're taking a really solid trade, like if you look at ICT's executions where he's placing a stop that's like 5 points away, it's because he's using the idea of there's 3 PD arrays that overlap, or he knows we're in a specific stage in the market maker model. So his favorite is the second stage of distribution, which typically once you see that swing low formed or swing high formed, we're going to run for liquidity. But yeah, good trade setups, when you look at them, you want to see the 3 PD arrays overlap. That's why breakers in itself are so good to use, because that itself is an entire order block range. Plus you have the fair value gap you're entering on. That's already 2. So placing a tight stop on a breaker is a lot of times what you want, because a lot of times you have a order block range in here, your inversion order block, you have an order block range in here, and you have this one. And if you go back and look for all of your breaker setups that occur, I'm trying to find a good one. I can hear, right? You have a breaker, you have a bearish or value gap, that's already 2 PD arrays. So you could place a stop up here, and then you also have, whatever order block you want to use. You have this one, or even, since we technically closed below this, inversion gap right there. Yeah, when I first started learning the 3 PD array rule, I thought it'd be, okay, if we're entering short here, you have to look there, then there, then there, and you place your stop all the way up here, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But the rule of thumb is, if you're entering on a fair value gap, place it at the high of that. And that's also assuming you're entering in premium or discount. You entering a short here, which is in discount of this market maker sell model, and placing a stop right there, placing a stop right there, is sometimes going to stop you out. It's going to run a little bit higher and then trade lower because you're entering a discount, and price is going to run from premium then to sell side. So make sure your entries are on point and then place your stops. But something like this, right? Fair value gap here, I'm fine with placing a stop there or a stop there. You have a bearish order block here, you have the fair value gap, and then obviously you have a volume imbalance there. So I guess that's 3 right there. But don't emphasize it too much because then you'll get confused. This is a great example, actually. You have a bearish breaker in here. You have fair value gap in here in premium of the dealing range. And by premium, I mean this high to this low. It's in premium. And you have this inversion gap. You have this inversion gap. You have a bunch of stuff that's holding you up. You have also this order block here. So entering in premium of that range using this breaker and using this entry is extremely strong because you can put a tight stop and trust that it's most likely not going to reach above mean threshold of the breaker. So if you have a unicorn setup, preferably you don't want to see price ever touch mean threshold of the breaker, meaning halfway. And if you're bearish in this case, you don't for sure ever want to see it reach above the breaker. Once we close through the breaker is really strong in the PD rate matrix. And most times that's going to hold and create your first stage of distribution. So entering off a breaker and putting a stop below it like this is most times pretty safe. It's a good question. Does the breaker include the wicks or just bodies? Well, if we're looking at higher time frames, 5-minute, 15-minute, hourly, and I'm looking for a setup, and I see a breaker on the 5-minute, I'm pulling it from both the wicks and the bodies and dragging it over for the 1 minute to use. Because on lower time frames, that entire wick is going to be a candle body, right? Something like the 1 minute chart looking for unicorn setups, breaker plus fair value gap. I'm pulling the breaker just from most times the candle body. Very rarely will I pull it from wick to wick unless it's the only candle, it's the highest candle in the breaker range and it's a little bit more wicks than it is candle bodies. Then I'm fine with pulling it. But yeah, lower time frames, I normally pull it from the candle bodies. Higher time frames, 5-minute or higher, I'm pulling it from wick to wick, whatever that range is given. Obviously, if you want to be more precise, you can use the entire wick every single time, but the candle bodies are going to create the highest reaction when we retrade to them. So we completely filled this 4-hour fair value gap, trading back up. I have no interest in taking anything off that. I do have some bullish SMT with YM between the 950 lows. But nothing after that, really. If you want to, you could look after 10:30. Maybe London close will be good. Going into 10:50 macro. Honestly, I don't have the patience to look for that today. We know the rest of the week is going to be good. Surprisingly, though, we didn't get this overnight range, which is disappointing going to the morning. So tomorrow, AM session, expect to stream Thursday. I don't know, unless is there 8:30 news on Thursday? All right, Thursday, 8:30 news on Thursday. So we might do either an early stream or just a short one on Thursday. And Friday, there will be a stream. Not during NFP, but between 9:30 and 10:30-ish. Maybe even 9:20 and 10. We'll have a stream done. Yeah, see you tomorrow. We'll wrap it up here as well. So stream recording will be posted later today. We won't look at price action anymore. I'm not interested in it. So if you decide to take any more trades, be safe. Don't do anything dumb. Follow your rules. If you took a loss off this or if you took a win, journal it. Make sure you're sticking to your rules and not executing more than you need to. Enjoy the rest of your day. Get some sun if you can. And we will see you guys tomorrow morning, Lord willing, for another stream. So take care and stay safe. Peace.